Professor Vex-Nine stared at the holographic display with all four of his eye stalks, blinking in what could only be described as pure bewilderment. The Galactic Academy's most challenging survival course had just concluded, and somehow, impossibly, the human student had not only passed but had apparently turned the entire exercise into some sort of business venture. "Are you absolutely certain these readings are correct?" Vex asked his teaching assistant, Glix, who was frantically tapping at her data pad with her 6 manipulator tentacles. "Sir, I have run the diagnostics 17 times. The scanners do not lie. Student Marcus Webb has indeed constructed what appears to be a fully functional hospitality establishment on planet Zirion 7, complete with paying customers." Vex's third eye stalk twitched. In his 200 years of teaching xenobiology and survival tactics, he had never encountered anything quite like this. The final exam was supposed to be a grueling test of endurance, resourcefulness, and basic survival instincts. Students were dropped onto a hostile world with nothing but standard emergency rations for 3 days and basic survival gear. The challenge? Survive 30 days without outside assistance. Most students barely managed to construct adequate shelter and find enough food to avoid starvation. The Zephyrian students typically built elaborate underground bunkers but forgot to secure reliable water sources. The Andromedans excelled at hunting but consistently failed at firemaking. The Cetacean Exchange students, well, they usually just complained about the lack of proper ocean access for the entire month, but Marcus Webb, this peculiar human from the third planet of the Sol system, had apparently decided that mere survival was insufficient. "Show me the surveillance footage from day 15, Vex commanded, his voice carrying the weight of academic authority mixed with barely contained curiosity. The hologram shifted, displaying a bird's-eye view of what had once been a barren section of Zirion 7's northern continent. Where there should have been a simple lean-to shelter, instead stood a series of interconnected structures that looked suspiciously sophisticated for primitive survival construction. "Computer, enhance section 7 alpha, Glix instructed. The image zoomed in, revealing details that made Vex's main eye stalk dilate with shock. Marcus had constructed not just shelter, but what appeared to be individual accommodation units, each with its own entrance and what looked like windows. Actual windows? Is that a reception desk?" Vex asked, pointing with one of his smaller appendages at a wooden structure positioned near what appeared to be a main entrance. "Sir, according to our long-range scanners, that is indeed a reception desk. And if I am reading these biosignatures correctly, there are currently 14 non-human life forms in the vicinity, none of which appear to be in distress." Vex felt a familiar tingling sensation in his secondary brainstem, the one responsible for processing impossible situations. "Glix, please tell me that those life forms are not who I think they are." His assistant's tentacles curled inward, a gesture that among her species indicated either embarrassment or impending doom. "Sir, I have cross-referenced the biosignatures with our student database. Those appear to be other Academy students." "Other students? From the Advanced Survival course?" "No, sir. These appear to be students from the Galactic Hospitality Management Program, the Advanced Xenobiology Research Track, and..." She paused, consulting her data pad once more, the Recreational Tourism Studies Department. Professor Vex-Nine experienced what humans might call a moment of existential crisis. His carefully designed survival examination had somehow been transformed into an interdisciplinary field trip. "Computer, play audio feed from the reception area," he commanded, dreading what he might hear. The speakers crackled to life, broadcasting Marcus Webb's distinctly human voice with what sounded like practiced customer service enthusiasm. "Welcome to Zirion Wilderness Resort. I am Marcus, your host and certified survival expert. Our premium wilderness experience package includes private shelter accommodation with genuine handcrafted furniture, gourmet foraged meal preparations, and guided tours of the local ecosystem. We also offer advanced fire-starting workshops, water purification seminars, and for our more adventurous guests, nighttime predator observation experiences from the safety of our elevated viewing platform." Vex eye stalks began rotating independently, a sign of severe cognitive overload. "Did he just say premium wilderness experience package?" he asked weakly. The audio continued. "Today's special attraction is our mud bath spa, utilizing the natural thermal springs I discovered during week 2 of my survival practicum. Please note that all services are priced in standard galactic credits, and we do accept most forms of interplanetary currency exchange." "Sir," Glix interjected carefully, "should I mention that our preliminary financial scans indicate Student Webb has generated approximately 4,000 credits in revenue over the past 2 weeks? Professor Vex-Nine made a sound that had no equivalent in any known language but roughly translated to the noise one makes when reality decides to take an unscheduled vacation. 3 days later, Professor Vex-Nine found himself doing something he had never imagined in his entire academic career, boarding a transport shuttle to personally visit a student's survival exam site. Not to conduct a rescue operation, mind you, but to perform what could only be described as a wellness inspection of an unlicensed resort. "Sir, incoming transmission from the planetary surface," announced Captain Blorg, the shuttle pilot whose species communicated primarily through interpretive gas releases. The translation device rendered his words with unfortunate timing alongside his natural expressions. "Put it through," Vex replied, bracing himself for whatever fresh impossibility awaited. Marcus Webb's voice filled the cabin with nauseating cheerfulness. "Zirian Wilderness Resort, this is Marcus speaking. Professor Vex-Nine, I presume? Fantastic. I have reserved our best accommodation for your inspection visit. Fair warning though, we are completely booked for the next 6 days, so I hope you do not mind sharing the executive suite with Dean Korthak from the Business Administration Department." Vex's primary eye stalk began twitching uncontrollably. "Dean Korthak is there? Why in the 7 spiral galaxies is Dean Korthak at your survival exam?" "Oh, he heard about our revenue projections and wanted to discuss potential expansion opportunities. Apparently, there is quite a demand for authentic wilderness experiences among the core world's elite. Who knew that rich people would pay premium prices to sleep in handmade shelters and eat food they watched someone catch with their bare hands?" The shuttle touched down on what had once been designated Landing Zone Alpha, but now bore a hand-carved wooden sign reading Zirian Resort Helipad, please mind the local wildlife. As Vex disembarked, his optical sensors struggled to process the scene before him. Where the barren landscape should have been, there now stood what could only be described as a small village. Not the ramshackle collection of survival shelters he had expected, but actual architecture. Buildings with foundations, properly constructed walls, and what appeared to be a functioning plumbing system based on the carved water channels running throughout the settlement. "Professor. Welcome." Marcus jogged over, looking remarkably well-fed and clean for someone who should have been subsisting on emergency rations and questionable forage. "I trust your journey was comfortable? We have fresh fruit juice prepared from local berries, and dinner tonight features grilled ziri on crawler with wild herb seasoning." Vex stared at the human student. "Marcus, I need you to explain something to me very carefully. This was supposed to be a survival examination. You were supposed to demonstrate your ability to stay alive in hostile conditions with minimal resources. Right. And I have totally succeeded at that. I have not died even once during the past 30 days. But you have built what appears to be a functioning tourist destination." Marcus nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. See, the thing about survival is that it is really just problem-solving with limited resources. My biggest problem was boredom. Sitting around trying not to die for 30 days seemed incredibly inefficient, especially when I realized how many opportunities this place offered." Dean Korthak approached, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the afternoon sunlight. "Ah, Professor Vex-Nine. You must hear about this young human's business model. Quite remarkable, really. He has identified an underserved market segment and created a unique value proposition using only indigenous resources. Dean Korthak, please tell me you are not here to offer this student a business degree." "Well, actually, the entrepreneurship department has expressed considerable interest." Vex felt his secondary brainstem beginning to overheat. "Show me the facilities tour." "All of them. I need to understand exactly what has been constructed here." Marcus led them through the settlement, pointing out features with the pride of a master craftsman. The shelters were not merely functional but actually comfortable, each equipped with proper bedding, storage areas, and ventilation systems. The central communal area featured a fire pit surrounded by carved seating, a food preparation zone with organized tool storage, and what appeared to be a primitive but effective refrigeration system using underground cooling chambers. The real breakthrough came in week 3, Marcus explained, guiding them toward a wooden platform overlooking a small waterfall. "I realized that other students were struggling with their survival courses on nearby continents. So I started offering consulting services. Advice on shelter construction, food procurement techniques, that sort of thing. Word spread through the student networks pretty quickly. You were supposed to be isolated." Vex protested. "Technically, I never left the planet. The clients came to me. And once I had paying customers, it just made sense to expand the services. Better accommodations, meal plans, educational workshops. Basic business logic, really." They reached the waterfall viewing platform, where several students from various species were relaxing in what Marcus had apparently dubbed the meditation zone. A Zephyrian student was practicing traditional breathing exercises while a group of Andromedans were engaged in what looked suspiciously like vacation photography. "Sir," Glix whispered to Professor Vex-Nine, "I should mention that preliminary reports from the other survival course locations indicate a significant improvement in overall pass rates this semester. Apparently, Student Web's consulting services have been quite effective." Vex stared out at the waterfall, watching Marcus explain local geological formations to a fascinated audience of paying customers. In 30 days, this human had not merely survived but had created a thriving business, improved the academic performance of his fellow students, and somehow turned the most challenging course in the Galactic Academy curriculum into what appeared to be the most popular vacation destination in 3-star systems. "Professor," Marcus said, approaching with a wooden clipboard, "I hate to rush you, but I have a 5:30 appointment with representatives from the Galactic Tourism Board. Apparently, they want to discuss licensing agreements for expanding to other survival course planets." Professor Vex-Nine looked at Marcus Webb, then at his thriving resort, then at the line of potential customers waiting at the reception desk, and finally at Dean Korthak, who was taking notes for what was undoubtedly going to be a case study in the next semester's business curriculum. "Marcus," he said finally, "I believe you may have fundamentally misunderstood the nature of this assignment." The human grinned with the confidence of someone who had just redefined an entire academic discipline. "Professor, with all due respect, I think I understood it perfectly. The goal was survival. Well, I have not just survived, I have thrived. And I have helped a lot of other people thrive too. Is that not what education is supposed to be about?" Professor Vex-Nine realized, with a mixture of horror and admiration, that he could not actually argue with that logic. Marcus Webb had passed his survival exam. He had just done it in the most spectacularly human way possible.